everybody, welcome back to the Claremont Classic Garage. It was an interesting weekend on the track, so I'm gonna do. I don't do them every week, but this week I'm gonna do a kind of a racing roundup video. Before we get into the professional racing, I would like to just take a second and send best wishes and thoughts to two local short track racers that had a couple of pretty scary incidents over the weekend. Steve McCaw from the Oscar Hot Rod Series and Johnny Paradzinski from the Mini Stocks. We're thinking of you and hoping for speedy recoveries for both of you. It started Saturday with the Xfinity Series race at the Chicago Street Course. Nobody knew what to expect, how it was going to work out, if it would be a gong show or a good race. In the end, the weather won. They got almost to the end of the second stage, and you know what? They were doing pretty well. It was a relatively clean race. And then they had lightning, and they had to park the cars, and they were never able to resume the race. So they rescheduled it for Sunday morning, and it was pouring so bad. They only had to get 2 laps in to get to the end of the second stage to make the race official. In the end, there was just no way they could do it. At one point, they had the drivers in the cars, but they ended up calling them back out, and they just finally said, you know what? This time, one time only, we're calling a race. Cole Custer is your winner, and that's that. We need to start getting ready for the Cup race because I don't think they really wanted to have to come back there today, Monday. Chicago's a really busy town. And I don't think they wanted those roads closed on a busy weekday. Like, there were some of the roads that never got closed until after rush hour on Friday. That's how busy it is. I've gone through Chicago in rush hour and it is nutty. Anyway, that's that. Sunday morning we had the Austrian Grand Prix, which turned out, even though it was the Red Bull show as usual, Verstappen ran away and hid, but the Ferraris, they put up a good fight. And it was a fun race with lots going on. And, that's that. The IndyCar race, Mid-Ohio. That was a fun race. Alex Palou won his third in a row. He's running away with the championship and everything. Kind of stinking up their show a little bit. There was lots going on in this, lots of beating and banging and brake lockups and dive bomb passes. Right at the beginning of the race, Ericsson went flying through the sky. It was crazy. But the scariest part of the whole weekend was on Saturday. Simon Pagenaud lost his brakes going into a very fast corner and rolled the car 8 times. He was actually taken out of the car for Saturday because they wear G-force sensors. And he registered 80 Gs, 80 Gs during that event. His car was taken over by Connor Daly for Sunday. Anyway, the IndyCar race was a hoot. I urge you to go on YouTube and watch a highlight reel of that. Now, on to the Cup race at Chicago. It ended up starting a little bit late. There was just, it wasn't just raining. It was like a deluge. It poured. Apparently, they said they'd gotten 2 inches of rain in 24 hours. When you're sitting right beside one of the Great Lakes, the atmosphere can pick up a lot of water and it dumps it wherever it wants to. And this thing, I watched the radar all weekend. It was just literally this big blob sitting right on top of Chicago, spinning. And hey, that's how it goes. So anyway, once they did finally get them going, NASCAR decided that for the whole day, or at least until further notice, starts and restarts would be single file. That's probably a good idea on a street circuit. They have enough problems on great big, huge, wide open road courses with, dive bombs and stuff. So that on restarts, that was probably a good idea. In the field, we had the usual NASCAR guys that are pretty good on road courses, guys like Allmendinger, McDowell, even McDowell. I wonder about the equipment that they give that guy to drive, but and you've got Truex, Chase Elliott, Larson, Suarez. There's so many good road racers in the Cup Series now. But we had, as usual, some ringers. We had Andy Lally, Jenson Button, Formula One world champion, 2009, and a guy that a lot of people have never heard of before, although they would soon. Shane Van Gisbergen from New Zealand, Australian supercar 3-time champion and an accomplished racer of all disciplines. The guy races sprint cars. If it's got wheels, he races it. He's the Australian Kyle Larson, you know. Anyway, he almost, just by a hair, got the pole, but he ended up starting third. And he was up and down a little bit in the first half of the race. You have to remember that's what he's driving is a third team from Trackhouse Racing, so it's not normal guys, not a normal Cup pit crew, I would guess. Just, you know, it's guys. Everybody's trying their hardest, but they're not the top level every week Cup team that's used to working with each other. But when you got the right guy behind the wheel, you can make up for it all on the track. So anyway, they started the race on wet tires because the track was wet. As it went along, slowly, a few daredevils switched to slicks. And once they did that, it made everybody switch to slicks. And it went along. It was not as clean as the Xfinity race. There was lots of guys, you know, going for it. And turn 6 seemed to be a hot spot. I think Noah Gragson went into the tires in turn 6 4 times. And there was always something going on. They had one wreck coming around a turn where the entire track just got completely blocked by about 15 cars. They had to throw a yellow flag for that. And then NASCAR did something that, well, I'm still not sure about. Everybody has their conspiracy theories about how NASCAR is running everything, but this is something that just I don't understand. They had a yellow, and what happened on the yellow, was it into the third stage or right around the end of the second stage? It doesn't matter. But what happened at this yellow, there were some teams that said, you know what? We don't think we're going to go the whole 100 laps because we think it's going to get dark. We're going to come in and pit now and get off strategy. So they did that. A handful of cars came in, got service, went out at the back of the pack, right? They're at the back of the pack now, but they know when the other cars come in for their scheduled service, they'll cycle to the front. Well, what happens? In that same caution period, after these guys had come in to make their strategy pit stop, as soon as they'd done that, NASCAR comes over the radio and says, attention, the race is now 75 laps, not 100 laps. So that, on the same yellow. So that forced everybody that didn't come in for a strategy pit to come in the next time around, and they all ended up having to go to the back. So you had a whole bunch of guys now cycling up to the front, including the golden boy, number 9, who desperately has to win a race to get into the playoffs. Anyway, I'll leave that to the to the conspiracies out there. Anyway, so what that did was the guys that had been at the front all day got cycled back. I think the first one was 16th, 17th, 18th. The key to this all is when they took the restart, Van Gisbergen was 18th. Well, what a clinic that guy put on. He came roaring through that field, and in 25 laps, he went from 18th to the lead. Passing guys cleanly. He didn't rough anybody up. He didn't tear the car up. I've never seen anything like it in my life, except for way back in the old days, Ron Fellows at Watkins Glen. He would do the same thing. He would just mow them down. So anyway, and I had said to Deb on Saturday when we watched qualifying and we saw Van Gisbergen get up near the front, I said to her on Saturday, they better watch this guy on Sunday. Because if you remember back from the Circuit of the Americas race where Jenson Button was doing okay, but he got tangled up in a whole bunch of rough stuff on restarts and whatnot. And he said, man, I can't believe how aggressive and how physical these guys are with these cars. But Van Gisbergen, coming from the Australian supercars, have you ever seen those guys race? They make these NASCAR guys look like Boy Scouts. They beat the living snot out of each other over there. Because, it's kind of same like here. The cars are so equal, you need to use the bumper. Anyway, so I knew he wouldn't be rattled or intimidated or anything by any of that sort of stuff. In the end, it never ever came down to that. They had a couple of restarts late, and he fended them off. Like the last two guys that he passed, Chase Elliott was running second, and Justin Haley was in the lead, and he went past these guys. It looked like lap cars letting the leader go. That's how easily he blew past them. It was unbelievable. This guy put on a clinic. So at the end, he won the race. He survived a green-white checker, and he won the race. And that was, we watched history. A guy winning in his first start ever. I mean, that just doesn't happen. Sometimes it'll happen because, you've got Lady Luck on your side or whatever, there happens to be a big wreck that you sneak through and then it starts raining or whatever and the race gets called. But this guy actually won the race by passing cars. And at the end of it, that car of his did not have a mark on it. It was unbelievable. I'm very, very happy that I was able to sit on my couch and watch that, because it'll be a long time before we ever get to see something like that again. Anyway, so that's it. That's the weekend racing wrap up from the Claremont Classic Garage. Hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble on for a few minutes. Hope you'll come back and see us soon. And until we meet again, this is Kevin saying so long from the Claremont Classic Garage.